All right. So, as you know from another video, I went to the mental hospital. If you haven't seen that video, it's just a video about my day or my week. It'll be posted on Sunday or before that, I'm not sure. But I just want to make this video about how my mental hospital event went. Sorry, I'm not wearing makeup. I'm so tired. I just didn't want to even bother with it. It's all right. So let's start it off with how it started. So basically, as you can see from my weekly videos, that the last 2 weeks have been really bad. I was just bad event after bad event after bad event. And the first thing that happened was that I got in a fight with my friends. I was getting a lot of fights with my mom, and then I got into a fight with my friend. And I just blew up on them. I was just so angry. And then after that, I talked to Michelle, and Michelle made me angry too, so I yelled at her. Or yelled at them. And was really frustrating, because basically what Michelle was doing is that one second she was fine with mom and the boundaries with mom. Next second she wasn't okay with it. And I just asked her, I was like, what side are you on? Like, do you like mom and all the boundaries? Or do you not like mom and all the boundaries? And this was specifically about mom unpacking her kitchen stuff in our kitchen so that she could put up stuff. And Michelle's like, no, she's really nice. She's just helping us out. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, I know that's not the case. I know mom's not just simply helping us. Oh, excuse the mess in the background. I'm unpacking. And I got really angry at Michelle. And then I finally just laid there and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I am so sick of living. I just want to not live anymore. So I went to the mental hospital, turned myself in. This was not because I'm victimosexual or because I'm a god spouse. So if you were like, oh, they finally realized that she's totally crazy, that's not what happened. I was just suicidal, and I was on the cusp of a psychotic episode. So I went in and I get turned in, and that the first thing they do is not giving me my meds. I need to take schizophrenic meds every day, or there's really bad side effects. And I told them, well, if you don't give me my meds, I'm going to have bad side effects. And they're like, no, you have to talk to the doctor in the morning and confirm with her what your meds are. And that's kind of what they did consistently, was like, you need to talk to the nurse, you need to talk to the doctor. But they wouldn't point out who the doctor was, how they look, or what their name was. You just had to talk to the doctor. So it could be doctor from Doctor Who for all you know. And so I didn't get my meds the first night. I managed to sleep. I slept most of the time I was there. And the first problem was that they just would not give me my prescription of meds. I have a certain prescription. I told them I don't want to change medicine. I like my medicine. It works well. It's just that I'm going through a hard time right now. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then they would not give me my meds, the proper amount of meds. So I kept getting side effects from not having them. And that was really, really frustrating. And I was kind of like, I kind of just want to leave. I voluntarily came here. If you're not going to give me my meds, I want to go. And they never did give me the right meds, even before I left. So that's the first thing that happened. Next thing that happened is that I met a few people. One was named Garcia, the other was named Catherine, who were like really nice people who came in. However, they seemed, or at least Catherine seemed very confused. She didn't know why she was there. She didn't know what was going on. And I was kind of like, I was empathetic because that was me in 2018. Like when I went to the mental hospital, I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea why I was there. No idea. And it was clear she did not know. So I tried to like explain it to her. Like you're in a mental hospital. Like we're trying to get you help. Stuff like that. And for the rest of the week, she just tried to do everything for me. She's much younger than me. She was like 18. She was very young. And she was like, I'll get you your food. I'll make your bed. I'll do all these different things. And I was like, I don't really need that. It's cool. And I didn't want to be mean, but I just didn't want to have to, like, I was taking care of myself. I didn't want to have to take care of another person. And she was the type of person that needed help. So I was just kind of like, I would talk to her, but I was like, I really don't want to like go backwards when I'm here. Same thing with Garcia, very nice lady, talked to everybody, but she also would trauma dump. And I'm like, you seem very nice. I listened to her, but I was like, I don't have the energy to hear your problems right now. I just don't. So that's that. So the mental hospital is kind of a void. It's like you go in and you're just like, you might come out kind of thing. Or at least that's how it feels like. It feels like you're just there forever. It's definitely a purgatory where you're just stuck doing, watching TV, drawing, coloring, or talking to each other and reading. That was it. That was 5 things. So if you wanted to do anything outside of that, you couldn't really. And so I was just kind of like, you're just stuck in this building for a week. And they don't really listen to you. They're not very nice. I mean, they were nice to me. The doctors were nice to me. Because I there's like 2 terms of schizophrenia. And I'm going to use the words high functioning and low functioning. I know that's not, I don't think that's politically correct, but it's the best way I can explain how it is. There's a group of people who fit nicely in a box. They're polite, they're nice, they do as they're told, and they can mask their schizophrenia very well. Then there's another box for people who are in lower need schizophrenia, where they get angry, they yell, they scream, they fight, they cry, they will have outbursts, all that. There's nothing wrong with either box. They're both valid. Because you have to remember that schizophrenics aren't like completely in control of their emotions or body. So they do a lot of things they would just never do in person. Like, well, I mean, like if they were their regular selves, they would never do this. And I understood this very well because I was like that in 2018. But it's like the doctors just kind of expected them to act like, I don't want to say normal people, but like people who are well. Like all of us were unwell, and they just treat us like we're all well. Like this is a completely balanced human being that I'm dealing with, and I'm going to judge them based off that. That's how they kind of were. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense because you're not in control when you have schizophrenia. Someone else is taking the wheel, so they're not doing anything on purpose. And they would just act like they were being personally attacked. The doctors, and they would yell at them, and they'd be like, they tell them they couldn't go to group therapy because they're crying, which is just very like this poor Victoria was kind of a lot like me when I was on 2018. Just needed a lot of help, and they weren't giving her any help. They would just kind of be like, oh, it's a crazy person doing crazy things. That's pretty much how they were. And then there's one guy who had every right to be angry because it was a very poorly run hospital. He was very angry about it. He had every right to be angry. But because he was angry, they would like target him and wouldn't allow him to speak on the phones. They wouldn't allow him to do this. They wouldn't allow him to do that. Because he was just like outspoken about the situation. He had every right to be angry. I don't see anything wrong with what he was saying. But they were often villainized or whatever if you said anything different. Then there were several fights that broke out. There was a fight on the first day with one guy. It was just a yelling match. Then there was a fight the next day with the same guy, a yelling match. And then there's a few other ones. They were constantly yelling at each other. My boob hurts or something. So the one major fight was when we were doing group time. We were sitting in 2 circles, I guess, and one of the males, he was a blonde guy with blue eyes, like turned to this girl who was like, I don't know, I think she's Pakistani, and just grabbed her hair and pulled it, and like they started fighting, and we had to like tear him apart, and he got put in his room and they gave him a shot, so he was dealt with. And she just kind of sat there, like, not really upset or anything, but you could tell she was somewhat defeated. She's just like, oh, it's another thing I have to deal with. So I really kind of felt for her. And everybody made sure she was okay. And it was a mess because that, like, him doing that to her triggered somebody else. Because they probably have someone in their life that's a woman who gets beat up on. So this reminded them of that. And they started getting really worked up. They started yelling. And then Chris was like, you need to go to, not solidarity of confinement, but like, I guess like a peace room where you would sit in there alone for a while so that you can calm down. And he was like, I don't want to do that. And so Chris is like, why don't you just calm down then? So we don't have to take you. And he was like, okay, I understand. So he calmed down because he's a nice guy. He just got really triggered from him hurting that girl. And so exhausted talking about this. I'm trying to think of another negative. The food was not great. I did not eat a lot of it. There were some meals I liked, some meals I didn't like. The beds were very uncomfortable. You would try to sleep on your side and your whole side would just go to sleep because it's like a hard bed. And they were just very disorganized. Like, I wanted to leave because I was like, fuck this place. This place fucking sucks. And I was like, hey, I voluntarily came in. I would like to voluntarily leave. And they were like, okay, well, you need to talk to the doctor. Here's the doctor again. You had to talk to the doctor. And I was like, okay, when is the doctor coming in? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, all right, why don't you know when the doctor's coming in? I'm like, all right. So next day, I'm like, when is the doctor coming in to a new person? And they're like, oh, I think like 8 or 9. And I'm like, all right. And then I was like, hey, can you tell the doctor to talk to me? Because I just have something to talk to them about. And they're like, oh, no, just keep your eyes peeled. So we're all defending for ourselves. Like, we're just like, there's no order. We're just like, I hope we get treatment. But I did manage to talk to the doctor about leaving. Because I finally found her. And it was Dr. Hughes. And I was like, look, I want to leave. I didn't tell her this. I didn't tell her the place sucked. I was just like, I want to go. And they were trying to get me to stay. And I was like, please let me go. I just want to go home. And it was very, like, it kind of reminded me of Parks and Rec. It was very, like, this is a jail. And I don't know why anybody would want treatment here, but whatever. And they finally let me leave. But that was the general, like, that's a really good example of how it was generally was like, oh, talk to that random person that I've never seen before to get help. Without explaining who they are, how they look like, when they're coming in, nothing. It's just like, such a hassle. So it's just like, it was a lot of frustrating stuff like that. I think the most frustrating thing by far was just them treating patients like they're inmates. Like that they're going to jail. Like they had that same capability as someone who goes to jail. Which, let's face it, people who go to jail don't have the space to do that either. But they're not everybody who goes to jail is unwell. So, sometimes you've just done a bad thing and you went to jail. And they treat them exactly the same. So when you should be like de-escalating the situation, when you should like try to make them happy, when you should, acknowledge their emotions, except for doing that, they would just go, you're villainized. You're not a cooperative schizophrenic, so we don't want to deal with you. Very, very frustrating. I can't think of anything else. It was just very much like a purgatory situation where notice like the small things that you do each day are actually quite important. Like listening to music, getting up at the time that you want to get up at, sleeping in a nice bed, TV, being able to walk outside wherever you want to walk. Stuff like that, you start to realize this is actually really important stuff that if taken away, it really sucks. And so I'm happy to be out. I just have low energy. If I think of anything else with the mental hospital, I'll put it here. If there's nothing here, then I didn't find anything. Oh, I did remember something. My roommate was just like really excited to take a shower for some reason. And so she like got dressed and just ran around the room. And I was like, all right. I guess this is happening right now. I don't know.